Right. So we completed the basics of JavaScript yesterday. So today we'll start uh, a few other concepts on scripting, right? So scripting APIs in ServiceNow. Okay. So we have few scripting APIs like glide record, glide aggregate, glide date time. Okay. These are the few ServiceNow scripting APIs which are used. So if you're comfortable understanding them, then your scripting will be very easy in ServiceNow. So mostly 99% glide record will be used, and few of the use cases will be using glide aggregate, and few of the cases will be using glide data type. So if you're familiar with the glide record, then it will be very easy for you to understand the scripts in ServiceNow, because most of the scripts will be written using glide record. Getting it? So now these are server-side APIs. So there is one more thing called client-side APIs. So one is G underscore form, other is G underscore user. These are client-side APIs. Getting it? So there's one more thing called GS. Okay, GS, glide system, call it as GS. Right? So we need to understand, before we get into this, we need to understand two things. One is server-side scripting. So scripting is of two kinds again, server-side scripting and client-side scripting. Server-side scripting and client-side scripting. So what do you mean by server-side scripting? Server-side scripts which execute whenever there is a server-side operation. Operation like create, read, write, or delete happen on the records from the database table. Client-side scripting scripts which execute without any server-side interactions as above. So observe carefully here. Observe carefully here. So this is an incident record from the incident table, and so this is a record. So observe carefully here. What do you mean by client-side scripting? What do you mean by server-side scripting? So let's first talk about client-side scripting. The scripts which execute without any server-side interaction. Scripts which execute without any server-side interactions. So you see here, server-side interaction means these are the operations. Server-side interaction means these are the operations. What operations? Creation of records, deletion of records, reading the records, or editing the records. So these are the operations. These operations are nothing but server-side operations. Okay. Client-side scripts which execute without any server-side operation. See here, I'm changing the state here, okay, to on hold. See here, there's a field appearing here. Whenever I'm selecting on hold, I see a new field coming up here and it is mandatory. Getting it? And when I'm selecting in progress, again that field is disappearing. Once again, I'm changing the state to on hold and a new field is appearing here and it is mandatory. And when I'm changing it back to in progress or any other state, so when I'm changing it to resolved, I'm not seeing that field and I see other fields, resolution code and resolution nodes. They are becoming mandatory. How come they're becoming mandatory? How come this field is appearing here? How come this field is appearing and how come other fields are becoming mandatory? Now observe carefully. When I'm selecting on hold, these fields are becoming unmandatory. Getting it? So this is happening because there is some script or logic for this kind of operation. There's a logic which is executing, okay, whenever we are changing the state. So based upon the state selected here, based upon the state selected here, the fields are appearing and they are becoming mandatory. So there is some logic that is executing behind the scenes. Are we saving the record? No. Are we deleting the record? No. Are we updating the record? No. Updating this is clicking on update. Are we accessing the record? No. We are just changing the value on the state and immediately the logic is showing us the field to appear and making it mandatory. So this logic is without server-side interaction. This logic is executing without server-side interaction. Server-side interaction is you need to create a record. You can you need to update a record. You need to delete a record or you need to read a record. But we are not doing any of this. We are just changing the status. Getting it? So there is no server-side interaction. This operation, this logic is happening at the form level, at the user end level, or at the client end level. All these terminologies you should understand. Form level, user end level, or client level, the logic is executing without any server-side interactions. So this kind of logic is called client-side logic or client-side script. Getting it? This logic which executes without any server-side interactions. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Clear? Everybody.
Yes, sir.
So if your logic is executing when you're saving the record, if your logic is executing when you're updating the record, if your logic is executing when you're deleting the record, if your logic is executing when you're reading a record, then that is a server-side interaction. But here, we are not doing any of these. We're just changing the status, okay, which is on the form, and a logic is executing and which is making the fields mandatory. So this kind of logic is called client-side logic. Clear? So next, server-side logic. What is server-side logic? Server-side scripts which execute whenever there is a server-side interactions or operations like creation of record, read, write, delete of the records. So we learned about notifications, right? We learned about notifications. So we configured couple of notifications, right? We configured couple of notifications in the test table, right? See here, we'll learn couple of notifications. So when is this notification going to trigger? When a record is inserted. When a record is inserted. So this is a server side logic which executes. So this notification is a server side logic because this executes when a record is inserted on this particular table. Similarly here. So this is updated. So again, this is a notification which executes when a record is updated whenever these conditions are met. Getting it? So again, this is a server-side execution, server-side logic. We talked about workflows, right? We talked about workflows. So we created this item, right? So we created this item and we created this workflow. So this workflow basically triggers whenever you're creating a request, ordering an item. Whenever you're placing an order for this item, this workflow will get attached to the RITM. So workflow is a server-side script, not server-side script, server-side logic, which attaches to the RITM whenever you're creating RITM. To which record this workflow gets attached? To the RITM record, right? So as soon as RITM record is created, this workflow gets attached. Getting it? As soon as you place an order for this item, this workflow gets attached to the RITM corresponding to this particular item, isn't it? So this workflow is a server-side logic. Getting it? So how do you build these server-side logics? Not only workflow notifications, but there are many. So how do you build those server-side logics? We have these APIs to build the server-side scripts. In order to build the client-side scripts or client-side logic, we have these APIs. Getting it? Questions? Any questions up till now?
No, sir.
right? So we need to understand these APIs, okay, before we get into the actual scripting for the use cases. So we'll start with the server-side API. First is glide record. It is a server-side API which is used to do the CRUD operations. CRUD operations means create, read, write, delete, okay, on the table. So using this glide record, you can write scripts to create records on a table. You can write scripts to read records from a table, to write scripts to edit the records on a table, write scripts to delete the records from a table. Getting it? So we manually created the records on the tables, right? We manually created the records on the tables. So generally, what is our table? So this is our table, right? So how do we generally create the records? So we open this list view, click on new, and then fill the mandatory fields, right? And then fill the mandatory fields, and then fill the fields, then click on submit or click on save, right? So this is how you create the records on this particular table, but through script also you can create. So you can write a script to create records on this particular table. So how do you write a script? You would use glide record. Glide record is a server-side API which is used to do the CRUD operations. That is, you can create records on the table using glide record. Getting it? So these are the four operations that we can do using glide record. These operations are on the records of a table. Getting it? So let's start with so we'll try to understand how to write a script for these four operations. So first we'll talk about creation of records, right? So creation of records. Observe carefully. So whatever the steps that you follow manually, so we'll try to convert those manual steps into some scripting. So how do you create a record on a particular table? You open the list view and then you click on new. So that means first you need to navigate to the table. You need to navigate to the table. So first is steps here. Touch the table, right? Whichever the table you want, touch the table first. Next, click on new button. Fill the mandatory fields. click on save or submit to create the records, right? So these are the 4 steps that you generally do to create the records on the table. So we will convert these steps into some script lines. So touch the table. Touch the table is nothing but how do we touch the table? So we touch the table by creating the object. So first step is touch the table by creating the object. So how do you create the object? So we'll be using glide record. So can use this one, new glide record. Okay, new glide record and then table name. Okay, so this is nothing but touch the table, or you can also call it as object creation for the table. Getting it? So this is a syntax. Getting it? So now, so syntax goes this way. So you should give the table name here for which table you want to create the object. So actual script goes this way. So new glide record table name. So what is the table name? Give the table name within single or double quotes. So what is the table name? So this is the table name. Copy. Great. So this is our table name. Put it in single or double quotes and then terminate the line with semicolon. Every line you should terminate with semicolon. It's not a mandatory, but it is the best practice. So whatever the so this syntax is now creating an object for this particular table. Now I'm assigning this object to a variable. So grtt9. So you see here, this is an object and consider this as a value. I'm assigning this value to a variable. So this is the variable. So var is a keyword which I'm using to declare the variable. grtt9 is equals to the value, right side value. I'm assigning it to left side variable. So after that, so click on the new button. So after you click on the new button, what happens? An empty form opens, right? Empty form opens. So here second step is, so similar to the clicking of new button, here we have initialize. Is the initialize the object. Initialize the object. Second step. So this is the first step. So this is the first step and this is the second step. Initialize the object to fill the data on the fields. Okay. So whenever the new form opens, we fill the data on the fields. So here also same thing. Initialize the object. So what is the object? So this is the object which I am storing in this particular variable. So initialize the object to fill the data on the fields. So how do you initialize? So second step is initialize. So variable dot initialize. Okay. So this is equivalent to you're ready to fill the data on the fields on the form. Now, next step is fill the data on the fields. Okay, fill the data on the fields. So how do you fill the data? So you see here, for this table, the object is this. So now what you can do, you have to always use this. In this particular script, you always need to refer to this variable in order to do some operation on this particular table. So now we want to set the values onto the fields. So variable dot. So what is the mandatory field here? So reported user is a mandatory field. So copy the field name. So we are writing scripts, right? Always use the backend names, not the labels or the display names. Always use system names. So variable dot field name is equal to. So it's a reference field, right? So I want to set the data on this particular reference field. So I always need to set with the sysID of the record. SysID of the record, which to be referenced on this reported user. Select some user. Select some user. Copy the sysID. Copy the sysID of this user. Right? Copy the sysID of this user. Put it in the single quotes. So whatever the static data that you have, should always put it in the single quotes so that it will be considered as string. We learned about strings, right? So now this is like a string data because this is in single quotes. Getting it? Any data that you have static data, put it in the single quotes. So this is a reported user which we are filling. Next. So status. I want to set status to open. So take the backend field name. So you underscore status. Is equals to open. Right? Next. Category. Select some value. So say check what is a backend field name. So that is you underscore category. So whenever you're setting any choice values here, right? So whenever you're setting any choice values, always take the backend value of these choices. See, I'm not setting with the display values. I'm setting with the backend values. How can I get the backend values of these choices? How can I get the backend values of these choices? Anybody?
Go to form design, sir, or otherwise. Hello.
Form design is not required to get this backend values. Any other option? Any other option? Aluvelu, Mahesh, Murali, Sai Deepika. So what you can do, place the cursor on this field, right click, configure dictionary, click on this, right? So scroll all the way down. So this is the dictionary entry of the status. See choices here. So these are the choices. So this is a label, nothing but display name, value. This is nothing but backend name. Getting it? So this is how you get the backend choices. Clear, guys? So you should be very thorough on these things. Okay. So now always take the backend field values or choice values. Next, what else? So I want to fill the short description. So check the backend name. So u underscore short description. I'm setting short description as test ticket. Next, I'll also set the description. That is u underscore description is equals to test ticket. Please ignore. Right. Next. So that's all. So what we can do, we can now. So after setting the field values, what do? You either click on submit, either click on save. Right. So that's what you do here. Last step is saving. So here, use insert method to create the records. So at the end, you can use insert method. So this variable dot insert. Okay. So simple. So this is a script to create the records. Everybody clear with the script? Everybody clear? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now, where should I execute this script now? I wrote the script. Where can I execute this? So I can execute this in the background. So go to the instance. Go to the instance. And you can execute this in the background script. So type scripts space. So scripts hyphen background. So this is the module. You can open. So this is the background script execution window where you can paste your script here. Okay. And you can click on a run script. You can click on a run script. Click on this. See here, script completed. Okay. And what is the operation that we did? Insert operation, that is creation of records, right? Creation of records on which table we did the insertion of records on this particular table. How many records are inserted? One record. Getting it? So execution is completed. So now let's go to our table. Go to our table, list view. See here, just now. This ticket is created just now. Open this record. See here. So reported user is test user. We set the SysID and then short description we set with test ticket. Description we set with the test ticket. Please ignore. Status as open. Category as hardware. That means we are able to create records using script. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Anybody has any questions, doubts? Right? So that's about creation of records through glide record. Now, next is read the records from a table. So we learned about creating the records, right? Now we'll learn about reading the records. How do you read the records? So generally, what are the steps that you will follow to read the records? So you will go to the list view, or you will go to the table. You will navigate to the table, and then you will apply the filter condition here. Getting it? Say for example, status is open. Click on run. See here, when you apply the filter condition, click on run, you see all the records with open status are showing up here. That is nothing but, this is nothing but reading the records. Getting it? This is nothing but reading the records. So same thing you should do using this script. Right? So we are reading the records by applying some condition. You can apply multiple conditions, not a problem. Say, how many records are there here in total? 11 records. So apply category as hardware. Click on run. So now still records are filtered to 5. Getting it? So these are the records which have category as hardware. Getting it? Now, how do you read these records through script? How do you read these records through script? So steps here. So first steps. First, same step, that is touch the table by creating the object. That is the first step. Second step, what do? Apply the filter condition. So what did you do? We applied the filter condition and then we clicked on run. Click on run and then records are retrieved. Okay, on the list. Getting it? Records are retrieved on the list. So this means you are able to read the records. So these are the steps that we need to convert equivalent into the script. So how do you do this? Same thing. What you did here. So touch the table by creating an object. So first step, I think already we added that step here. So steps in the scripting. First step, second step. So touch the table by creating the object. Second is apply the conditions, filter conditions using add query. Okay. So first step is creation of object using glide record. So create new glide record. Give the table name. So this is what the table name. Getting it. Give the table name. Store the object into a variable. Say gr tt9. You can give any variable name. Okay. All need not be this one. You can give any variable name. Next. Second is apply the filter condition using add query. So after creation of object, what did we do? We applied the filter conditions here. So apply the filter conditions one by one. Apply the conditions one by one. So how do you apply the condition? So you have a method called add query to apply the condition. Okay, add query. Add query, it can take input parameters as field name, operator, comma, value. Getting it? So these are the, so add query is a method where you can pass these parameters, field name, operator, and value. So add query. So what is a field name that we are entering in the filter condition? Status. So this is called field name. This is operator. This is value. This is field name, operator, value. So same thing you can do here. Field name, that is u underscore status, comma, operator, then value. So what is the value? Open. Is this clear?
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm applying filter condition. Now there is one more condition, right? Apply that condition as well. Anybody not understanding, please tell me. So one more condition. What is that one more condition? Category. So u underscore category. Operator is equal to. Put everything in the single quotes only. Okay. Because all are static values. Nothing is dynamic here. So after applying filter condition, what did you do? We clicked on run. Correct. We clicked on run. So when you click on run, the records are filtered and showing you the records matching this filter condition. So equivalent of run, equivalent of run, equivalent of run here is use query, use query, just nothing but equivalent of, which is equivalent of equivalent of run. Okay, so use that. So gr tt9 dot query, custom this. right? So query is equivalent of run. So with this, we'll be getting the records, whatever matching with this filter condition, we get the records. Now, so for example, if you want to read the field values from each record, we want to read the field values from each record. So basically, I want to print these numbers, number values for all these records. I want to print number values for all the records. So I can use next set of lines here. So if I want to print only the number for the first matched record, then I can use a different approach here. But up till now, here you will get all the records using this query condition. So if you want to read all the records and the field values, then you can use this approach. So what you can do is you have to use, so if you want to read all the records, use while, or else if you want to read only first match record, then use if. Okay, so I want to read all the match records, so I'm using while. So now, so while will have some condition, right? So we learned about while will have some condition. So while can have condition. Now condition is, so first it will start with the first record and then it will loop through all the records one by one. So variable dot next, getting it? So while loop, whatever the script related to the while we learn, right? So while condition and then block of code, getting it? Block of code. So first it will start with the initial value, first value, then it will increment in this, because of this line here, it will increment. So while loop will run till the condition is failed, till the condition is failed. So till the condition becomes fail, the block of code will execute. Same here also, since it is retrieving multiple records with these conditions, so while loop will loop through each record and read each record, and it will come out of the execution. The execution will be completed once the last record reading is completed. So first it will read this record, next it will read this record, next it will read this record, next this record, next this record. Once reading this record is completed, then control comes out of the while. So this is a condition that you should give in order to check whether there is a record present next or not. When you're reading first record, there is a second record. When you're reading second record, there is a third record. When you're reading fourth record, there is a fifth record. When you're reading fifth, there is no sixth record. So when the record is not present, control comes out of while loop. Getting it? So first it will read the first record, okay, using the syntax. Now what I want to do, I want to read the number. I want to read the number present on each record. So I can do this way. Say gs dot print. Gs dot print. What do you want to print? Number, right? So you have to use this way. Object. Because this table object is stored in this particular variable. Object dot. What is the number field? backend name, u underscore number. Getting it? That's all. So you're able to read the field value. Copy, run it in the background. Right? Run it in the background. Right, some problem. So glide record. So you can see here, it is throwing some error. See here, it is throwing some error. Glide record is not defined. So if you're giving any mistake, spelling mistake or syntax is not correct, then it will throw error like this. So it will also show you where the error is. So here is the error in this line. So correct it. See here, you're able to print the numbers for the 5 records. Is this clear? That means I'm able to read the values from the records. Is this clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Keep practicing. Very important. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.